Hey guys, this is Nick with another review. This week we're checking out the Sigma 120 to 300 millimeter f2.8 Sport. So I had an opportunity to test this lens out at actually an NFL game this past weekend. It was a great experience getting to shoot that game, and I knew that I needed a fairly fast telephoto lens in order to shoot in those low light situations. So I took this guy with me. This is the 120 to 300 f2.8 from Sigma. There's a previous version of this lens that was not a sport line. This is of the sport line. It's basically a contemporary, a sister line to the art lenses that Sigma is doing. So first off, very much like all their other lenses, build quality is awesome, which makes it really, really heavy. This thing, I'll pop up the exact weight of it, but it is very heavy. It's heavier than a f2.8 from Canon, but it makes for a really nice build quality. It's weather sealed, and I think it looks really good. So we'll kind of talk a little bit. We'll show some of the images I was able to capture with this. It's a very nice sharp lens. The focusing system is not crazy fast. I would guess, I don't have a 300-2.8 to compare it to, but I would guess that the Canon 300-2.8 is a little bit snappier in the focus. But having said that, this is a zoom, and to be able to zoom from 120 to 300 and maintain that constant aperture f2.8 is really, really useful when shooting sports. There's a lot of times when you're shooting and the action gets close to you, 300 millimeters is just too close, and any other photographer would have to bring up another camera and switch cameras and switch to that. But I'm able to zoom out to 120 millimeters and get several more shots as they're getting closer to me. Also with shooting football, it's really nice to start out at 120 millimeters, figure out where the play is going, and then quickly zoom in to 300 and try to get that receiver catching the ball or something. So we're gonna take a look at some images coming from this lens, and we'll see what you guys think. Here we go. All right, so here we are in Lightroom. Let's take a look at some of these images. Pretty excited to be able to show you guys an NFL game for my lens test, but anyways, let's get started here. So early in the game, I started off with these first images here. I was using it with the 1.4 version 3 Canon teleconverter, and so settings wise, you know, I was shooting at f4 on most of these, which meant that I had to bump up my ISO. So these are going to be 3200 ISO, and you can see that with the teleconverter on there, it's not super crazy sharp, but it's definitely acceptable. The most annoying part of using the teleconverter was losing the speed of the focus. It was focusing very slow, and so my keeper rate was much fewer and farther between. Here we have Golden Tate running with the ball. You can see that, I mean, this was an action shot. He was moving quite dramatically through the frame, but I was still able to get focus on him. Most times my focus point is aiming for the chest, just because it's easier to keep up with. But you can see that it's pretty sharp. This is 420 millimeters. That one of Matt Stafford, 379. Here's another one of Abdullah running with the ball. That's 290. And then this is after I've taken it off, and you can see I'm shooting at f2.8, 2500 ISO, and we start to gain quite a bit of sharpness. You can see I'm focusing on the chest in most of these. Here we have another one of Abdullah running with the ball once it goes sharp here. I would say that these images are not as sharp as you would get with like a 300 millimeter prime, but they're still definitely professionally sharp. Like, you know, if you zoom into 1:1 on anything, you're going to see all the minor imperfections. You can see that, you know, I'm focused on the chest here, so his head is a little bit forward of the focus plane, but still that's a professionally sharp shot. Here's another one. As we zoom in here, 1:1, I would say that is pretty tack sharp. Here's some movement shots, like Calvin Johnson running towards the camera. He's a fast guy, and so it did a really good job of keeping up with focus. I mean, it's a tiny bit soft, but when we have a nice stationary target, you can see that, yeah, we nailed focus. Like, that's tack sharp. And this shot, you can see the full shot is this. Zoom in to 1:1, and we can see his facial expressions pretty well. Here's one at a lower ISO. This is Barry Sanders receiving his Hall of Fame ring. It's so cool to be able to be in such close proximity. I totally made eye contact with Barry Sanders. It's like the highlight of my life right here. But as we zoom in, you can see that's nice and sharp. That's every bit as sharp as my 70-200 Canon. Really, really happy with the sharpness. Really happy with the contrast and the colors here. Here we have Alshon Jeffries. These stationary shots really show off how sharp it can be, and then the moving shots, that's when it gets tricky, because it's not quite as fast at focusing as a prime lens. It is a little bit slower. I've shot with a 400-2.8 and it's not that fast, but you can see you can get some really super tack sharp shots with this thing. Very pleased with the sharpness. Here we go. Calvin Johnson getting ready. Calvin Johnson catching. Here's another fast moving shot. Like, I just barely panned over in time to even snap this shot. The fact that it actually got focus in time is amazing to me, because like I was late getting panned over to this, but we captured it. And that's pretty dang sharp. That's at 120 millimeters. That's zoomed all the way out as far as I could go. And we got this Matt Forte trying to fly. This is at 300 millimeters. This is the extreme other end. And you can see this is an action shot at 1,000th of a second. And when you zoom in, you'll start to see a little bit of motion blur even then, like see his hand. So, I mean, if I would have shot this at a slightly faster shutter speed, we'll see a little bit more sharpness. So some of the sharpness loss is a combination of that, and my focus point is probably back in here rather than on his face. So, I mean, this is as much user error as anything. So yeah, I'm super, super happy with the sharpness of this lens. I think that for the money, this is just an amazing, amazing lens. So what do we think about this lens? This lens is really, really awesome for the price. It's so much more versatile than a 300 millimeter prime. 300 or even 400 is really difficult to manage. It's great if the action's far away and you can have the luxury of cropping a little bit, but as that action gets closer to you, it gets harder and harder to follow the action. Being able to zoom out to 120 millimeters, figure out where the action's going, and then zoom back in, that alone makes this lens well worth the purchase. You can see that without the teleconverter, it's sharp. It's professionally sharp. I wish the focusing was a little bit faster, but I think we're asking a bit much, because really this is the first of its kind. To be able to have a telephoto f2.8 zoom, it's really the first of its kind, so it's really exciting. I wish it played a little bit better with teleconverters. It just gets way too slow when you throw on a 1.4 or 2x teleconverter. But as it is, this lens is awesome, and especially for the price. It's so much cheaper than the primes that you're looking at from Canon or Nikon. Really an awesome buy. I would say that this is easily one of the best lenses that Sigma makes. Really an awesome buy. So if you're on the fence, if you shoot a lot of sports, you can't go wrong with this guy. It's really awesome. If 300 millimeters is enough for you, go for it. All right, I hope this has been useful. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out my other videos. You can go to nickpagephotography.com, see more of my work. Go to improvephotography.com and subscribe to the podcast over there. Thanks so much, and thanks for watching. We'll see you later.